Hi everybody! Today I'm going to give you a tour of my open-air chicken coop, and I'll post links to all the products I use in the comments if you'd like to find out more about them. My coop started its life as a tree fort for my daughter. As she grew into her teenage years, she used it less and less, and eventually not at all. So when I decided to get chickens, it seemed like the perfect place to start. The main structure is an 8-foot by 8-foot square. I had a 3-foot bump out built on the back to give me a little more room, so at 8 by 11 there is 88 square feet of indoor floor space. The enclosure was framed with 2x4s and screened with 1/2-inch hardware cloth. Because a red oak tree is incorporated into the fort, this was a bit challenging to enclose, but my handyman did a great job. There's a screen door that also uses hardware cloth instead of screen material, and there's a latch on the outside to lock the door securely at night and keep predators out. During the day when I let the chickens free range, I use this chain to secure the door to the ladder so that it stays open and the wind doesn't blow it around. The first thing I want to highlight is that we dug a trench around the perimeter of the coop and filled it with concrete. The trench is about 6 inches wide and 4 inches deep, and the 2x4s sit on top of it, so nothing is going to be able to easily dig under. After a year of chicken keeping, we have had no predator attacks inside the coop. And as you can see from this security camera footage, we have had the occasional unwelcome nighttime visitor. When I decided to get chickens, my original plan was that I would get a small coop and have it inside the run, and the chickens would sleep inside it and lay in its nesting box. What actually ended up happening was that they refused to sleep inside, and everybody jockeyed around on top of it for what they perceived as the best spot. This led to a lot of fights at bedtime, and every morning the roof of the chicken coop was coated in bird poop. That got old pretty fast, and I really needed to come up with a different plan. So I got rid of the little wooden coop and installed a 2x6 roosting bar at about 4 feet high, which is 8 feet long, in addition to 2 3-foot omelet nesting bars that are mounted diagonally. This gives me a total of 14 linear feet of roosting space, which is more than enough to support the 10 hens who live here. There's also a 2x4 mounted about 1.5 feet lower than the roosting bar that they like to use as what I call the staging area, when they're deciding which spot they'll take for the night. This coop is different from most other coops that I've seen because it doesn't have solid walls. I did eventually add a heavy-duty tarp over the bump-out portion where they sleep to protect them if there's rain overnight. In the winter we get bitterly cold storm systems called blue northers that blow in from the north and west. So in November I attached tarps to the north and west sides of the coop to create a windbreak, and they were very effective. But now that we're in spring heading into summer, I've removed the side tarps so the breeze can flow freely through the coop during our hot months. Under the roosting bar is a relatively new addition. That's a dropping tray filled with Sweet PDZ Stall Refresh, which is a product made for horse stalls, but I use it pretty much like clumping kitty litter. Chickens eliminate about 70% of their waste at night, and their droppings fall into the tray. The Sweet PDZ helps dry it out and neutralize the ammonia odor. Every 2 or 3 days I come in and scoop it out exactly the way you would clean out a cat's litter box. The Sweet PDZ is also compostable, so I just throw the waste on the compost pile. Having the litter tray has pretty much eliminated the need for me to have to clean out the chicken coop itself, because they don't spend very much time in there except to sleep. So moving on, here I have some S-hooks hung on the hardware cloth to hold the tools that I use for keeping the roosting area clean, like a scraper and a brush and my kitty litter scoops. And there is also a dog who really wants to kill the chickens. For feed and water, I'm using Red Rooster products, which are kind of a take on a homemade PVC feeder or waterer. I like that the feeder forces the chicken to reach in and get the food and prevents the feed from being scattered around. In the year that I've had chickens, I have not noticed any rodent activity in or around the coop. I also keep extra water in a dish, because it's Texas and you can never have too much fresh, clean water available for the chickens in our heat. I hung a squirrel baffle above it to keep them from standing on it and knocking it over. And over here I have a little dish full of supplemental calcium. Right now it's oyster shells, but I also use eggshells, and I'll add a link below to a short video on how you can feed eggshells to your chickens. This dish is just a little kennel dish that's made to hang on the side of a cat or a dog kennel. Over here are 3 egg boxes for my 10 hens. The top 2 were purchased on Amazon and they are the most heavily used. The 5-gallon bucket has kind of been a bust. They don't use it and I'll probably remove it soon. In the mornings, I let the chickens out of the coop and free-range them on their own enclosed strip of yard that's about 20 feet deep and 100 feet long, so about 2,000 square feet of grazing area. I'm using omelet chicken fencing and so far I really like it. I especially like that it's easy to move just in case I need to reconfigure this area. I used to let them free range over the entire yard, but they wouldn't stay off the patio, and I found out that chicken poop on the patio is bad for my marriage. Also, my dog desperately wants to kill them, so it worked out better for everyone if I could keep them contained in what I call the chicken pasture. I also have an omelet egg glue coop that I bought used on Craigslist to use as an auxiliary coop or sick bay, but it turns out the girls really love laying in it, so its laying box gets used every day. Dirt baths are a really important component of hygiene for chickens, so I have a dirt bath for them made out of a fabric raised garden bed, and of course they love to spend hot afternoons fluffing around or napping in the dirt. For shade and shelter from predators, I also keep an old patio table and a sheet of plywood propped up against the outside of the coop, and they really enjoy hanging out in the cool, dark tunnel inside there. We do have hawks in the area, although none have attacked my flock yet. It's important to give them a place to hide since I can't be here with them all the time. At sunset, they make their way back into the coop, and I come out and latch the door to tuck everybody in safely for the night. I hope you've enjoyed this tour of my open-air chicken coop, and that it's given you some ideas about how you could keep backyard chickens. Laying hens are one of the best ways to improve your family's food security. Be sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button to be notified when we post new content.